Nonprofit and philanthropic leaders devote their lives to the service of others, but sometimes they need a little help. Kristine Michie has been deep in the work and the play of helping changemakers grow their impact for decades. So whether you're ladling soup at a local shelter or attending a UN peace conference, you need to find the balance between the heavy work and a light touch so you don't burn out. And Kristine believes play is at the center of that. Welcome to the Playful Podcast, bringing fun to the serious work of changing the world.
Hey folks, Kristine here. So you are back now for a second part of a two-part episode with Shawn Dove from New Profit and the Corporation for Black Male Achievement. We were having such a good time, we decided the conversation should go on longer, and so we split it into two episodes. If you missed the first part, head back to last week and grab it, and otherwise, welcome to part two. I want to go back and ask you, you talked about thinking that play and imagination, two sides of a coin. I want to ask you, and I saw in some of the stuff I was looking at, and somebody at one of your well conferences, and I wrote the quote down. I don't see it, but it was about trust. And I want to ask you about trust and play. I think trust builds play, but I also think a certain amount of trust is needed before play can begin. Any thoughts about the interchange between trust and play?
I think it's essential. When we are talking of one play, and typically we're talking about play, if you're not doing it by yourself, obviously you can solitaire, and I think imagination. I feel like when I'm sitting on my deck by myself, watching the sunset, smoking a cigar, I'm playing. But a level of trust and like playing with your friends, and trusting that folks will play fair and not cheat. I think trust is essential. I think in the social impact space and also in philanthropy, in the profit, we talk about the power of proximity and demystifying and dismantling the hierarchy and the levels of power for folks that are on the grant making side. That requires a level of humility, empathy, and most importantly, trust. You know, we give unrestricted capital and says like, we trust you as leaders, as founders, as innovators and creators of the change that you're seeking to see. We trust you. So this is not project based money, right? And so I think trust is essential. But here's something else I would also say. Not only is it essential of each other, Marcus Walton, who is the CEO of Grant Makers for Effective Organizations, it's a GO, or sorry, Marcus, if you're listening, I might be messing up. He used to be with an organization called ADFE, the Association of Black Foundation Executives. And one of the things almost 20 years ago in conversations and interacting with Marcus, he used to say is that, our biggest challenge is that we don't trust ourselves.
Mm.
And trusting ourselves gives us permission to dare to dream,
Yeah.
dare to have a radical imagination, dare to be playful. And I think, Kristine, even before we get to the space of play and imagination, it's kissing cousin,
Yeah.
it's an invitation. The invitation to play, right? Can Shawn come out and play? Can Kristine come out and play? Do you want to play with me? Right? And the invitation, a late mentor of mine, Reverend Nelson Johnson, the co-founder of Beloved Community Center in Greensboro, North Carolina. And so much of their work is really about racial reconciliation. And he used to always say that we in America have got to do a better job in learning to walk towards each other. and walking towards each other across gender divides, geographic divides, race divides, begins with an invitation, right? And so this an idea, the framework, and I'll just quickly invitation. It all begins with an invitation. Would you like to come out and play? Would you like to join me in this movement, right? And from there is the imagination, right? And from there, I think with play and imagination, we form our identities, right? I was a baller, right? A basketballer. And so and that was my first love and playing basketball, but also, playing freeze tag. So much of my identity was formed in play, right? Winning my first backgammon tournament in the after school, right? So invitation, imagination, forming your identity. We live the lives of the stories we tell ourselves is what Trabian Shorters, the founder of Be Me Community, who would be a great guest on your
He's been
show.
on. He
Oh,
has
okay,
been
so
on.
Trabian has been on, right? So you
Yes.
have heard him say that, and I'll land this plane. But after identity, this whole notion of and so there's also a closet Baptist preacher in me, so it's alliteration here.
I
I
got it.
After identity is the interdependence that we are better together, right? And that we all have unique gifts and talents that unique slice of genius that is needed for the change that we are seeking to see. And then the final I is impact, right? So we go from invitation to imagination, to identity, to interdependence, to impact.
Oh, I love that. I love me some alliteration too. Okay, I don't want to wrap up until we hit on a few things. I want to make sure folks that don't know, you've got this picture over your right shoulder, a couple really awesome ones, including you with President Obama around a table at maybe a moment in time when My Brother's Keeper was hatched. And I'm wondering where where might you show us that invitation, imagination, identity, interdependence, and impact were in that moment, in that room when that idea took hold? Where were you in that journey? What might you share as you recollect that?
Yeah, and it's I love that picture sitting across from President Obama, and I don't remember, Kristine, what I was saying, but I was animated. My hands were up in the air, and he's like looking at me like we got to tighten up security. But when I think of invitation, I think the invitation was probably 6 or 7 years before that picture and that snapshot came into being. And the campaign for Black male achievement was launched at the Open Society Foundations, which is George Soros's philanthropy. And in 2006, there was a New York Times front page article, and the headline was "The Plight of Black Men Deepens." And it depicted data and research where Black men were on the bottom of so many, if not every, social, economic determinant for success in life. And that spawned that was an invitation
Mm.
at Open Society Foundations because a conversation in Open Society Foundations when that article came out at the time, they were a catalyst and a pioneer in criminal justice reform, investments in philanthropy. But someone on the board said, if we are such a progressive, innovative, risk-taking foundation in philanthropy, why are we not investing in this issue that is plaguing Black men and Black communities in America? Someone responded, we are. Look at our criminal justice reform work,
Oh.
right? Yes.
Talk about
And
asset framing versus problem
exactly.
framing. Yeah.
And in this moment, and it might have been Jeff Canada, who was on the board, that said, here is an opportunity for us to invest in the front end of Black male achievement, not on the criminal justice, very important work. And so that was an invitation. And there was a long line of collaborative work that led up to that picture in 2013. There were foundation presidents in the room. And I will just say for someone that is listening, that is on their social impact journey, and I would say stay true to your mission, focus on the work, because when we talk about title and stature and tenure in that around that table, I hierarchically had the lowest title, but I was committed to the work. And when I came into the room around the table, they had the name tags, and I was like, wow, they put me right across from President Obama. And it wasn't because I had CEO or millionaire behind my name or anything like that. I think that is because, one of my leadership mantras is to be humble as a lamb, yet bold as a lion. And it's because I led that way, I was in front of President Obama. And so there was a long, but that it began, that was the invitation. And in that meeting, we talked about the launch of My Brother's Keeper initiative. I think that he was going to do it anyway, with or without that meeting. But the story is that is the meeting when we convinced him to launch My Brother's Keeper initiative.
Amazing. Okay. So much good there. And then I want to make sure you get to talk about your book, I Too Am America. Please share with the audience about that. I know it came out about a year and a half, 2 years ago, timed to January 6th. I
Yeah.
didn't know what that meant. Tell us about the book. Tell us about what's been your journey bringing that out into the world. There it is, folks. And mine's
Yes.
on its way. It hasn't arrived yet, but it's on its way.
Yes, it is. I can attest to that. And wow, it's been, I am a publisher, writer at heart. I love reading. I I have a newsletter on LinkedIn. It's called Getting High on My Own Supply, right? And my most recent edition, I talked about opening up boxes of books as an adolescent in the after school program called the Dome Project on Manhattan's Upper West Side. The founder of the Dome Project, John Simon, had published his first book called To Become Somebody, Growing Up Against the Grain of Society. I remember opening this cardboard box, and it was like a scene, Kristine, from Raiders of the Lost Ark, like this glow just came out, right? And I just knew that I would replicate, and I wanted to do that, right? And also in the Dome Project, there was a book by Claude Brown called Man Child in the Promised Land. And I got involved in the Dome through the basketball team. And we couldn't go to practice until we read in a circle and the team out loud. And the first book we read was Great Expectations, and that was cool. But when we read Man Child in the Promised Land, I didn't know I was involved in a book club. But the character Sonny, it was chronicling his story in Harlem, the 1940s. After practice, me and my teammates, my friends, we would go 2 blocks away on 80th Street and Amsterdam Avenue and sell loose joints and drink beer. But we found ourselves talking about the character, and that book saved my life, right? And so I knew that I would. That's I was destined to do that. And so from writing poetry, being the sports editor of the college newspaper, but I always wanted to, you know, tell my story. So I Told America on loving and leading black men and boys is equal parts memoir. Some of the stories I've shared with you during our conversation here. It's also equal parts chronicling the work of the campaign for black male achievement. We also follow two young men and tell their stories, Jamari in Detroit and Romero in Oakland, and the role that community mentors providing, uh, 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 you know, spaces for young people to be loved, right? And at the end of the day, black boys, black men, we want the same thing that everyone else wants: love, safety, and belonging, right? And what's also beautiful about the book is that it's also a manifesto for looking into the future. So the last part of the book is a collection of what we call mini manifestos, where it invited cross-sector, cross-gender leaders to answer the question, where do we go here? And one of the things, I have the book here, and you know, the title, I Told America, we borrow from Langston Hughes's iconic poem, I Too, which this is the 100-year anniversary of Langston Hughes publishing
1 year.
that poem. And I will say poetry saved my life when I was flailing as an adolescent. It gave me a sense of identity, a sense of expression beyond the basketball court. And I just wanted to, I know this is not part of the script, but we free flowing. I wanted to share in the introduction of the book is a poem that I wrote in 1988. And the poem goes like this: whilst at poetry in motion, I stopped to look for a brother with ways to write a book. Arranged round me with a story to tell, a billion brothers who know all too well about unwritten words that unwillingly die before bred and bound and able to fly. Why do my brother's words wear weights of woe, my ears to the ground? I'm dying to know. We must give our words wings so they can sing a song for all brothers they will bring. The ability to dream, to fly, and to soar, it's to you, my brothers, these words are for. To give your words a life, you must sit and write your story with tales of what life is like. Do me a favor and set your words free, because I need to hear them. Do it for me. And that poem is just so much my creed, my mission, and what God has called me to do. And there has been nothing greater than when I get someone that comes up to me and say that they read my book or story in their book touched them. And then others are like, you know what? Shawn Dove can publish a book. I can too. And so that's what I'm really really committed to, creating platforms and venues for us to tell stories of loving, learning, and leading by and for black men and boys, with a special sweet spot of 18 to 25-year-olds who are it's, you know, particularly before the pandemic, but since the pandemic, um are crying out for help in ways that we as a society have not been responsive enough. And so, yes, I to America on loving and leading black men and boys. And it's on. It's not a how to, because it's an evolving journey. Because Lord knows I'm still growing. I'm still learning as well, Kristine. And so, yeah, um, that's the book. And 100-year anniversary of Langston Hughes's I Too poem.
Love it. Well, I just made, as we were talking here, I just made the editorial decision. This is going to be 2 episodes.
Why,
So
Chris?
so those that are still listening, this is going to be part 2. We're going to break this into 2 episodes so that nobody misses a bit. Wow. And you mentioned about your sobriety birthday coming up. I'm actually going to be 15 years next month myself.
Wow,
So
congratulations.
another
Birthday
reason I think
time.
we've been vibing.
Wow. Wow.
And what came to mind in folks in recovery literature, there's a line in the Alcoholics Anonymous Big Book, which is the age of miracles is upon us. And as you were speaking, Shawn, I was thinking that came, and also attraction, not promotion,
Yeah.
also came to mind.
And you can't save your face and your ass at the same time.
It's one of our favorites.
But and one of the things that attracted me, and I more so in Narcotics Anonymous than it's the same language, right?
Yeah.
Same a big book. The language,
Yeah.
the slogan, the sense of community, the storytelling. We heal as we help others heal, right? Keep coming back, right? Don't leave the room until the miracle happens. So much of that language and sense of community, it saved my life. And I will say this, 37 years ago, if someone would have said to me, hanging out with my friends, Shawn, in 37 years, if we Google your name, Black Male Achievement would come up. First, I would have said, what the hell is Google?
Right.
And secondly, I was like, you must be crazy. Pass the joint, right? We don't know. And one of the things I would say in closing, I know we're over time, that there is someone that's listening to this. Young Black male or otherwise, anyone that is feeling at the end of their rope, feeling closed in, the walls are closing in, hopeless, and that their only solution is to end it all. I want to tell that person to hold on, ask for help. There is so much more for you. If I would have made the decision to jump on those tracks, Kristine, and grab the 3rd rail at Penn Station, we would not be having this conversation. And the reasons why we're having this conversation would never have happened. That there is so much more, right? The end of your story has not been written.
Yeah. Wow. I am full. I am brimming over with the spirit and energy of this conversation that I'm so privileged that we got to have today. And thank you all who are listening for being here with us. Get yourself some DeHarker Brothers ice cream because we've been eating in front of you, and that's not fair. The teacher would always get mad if the kid who brought not enough cookies to share with everybody. So get yourself some DeHarker Brothers. Shawn, thank you for what you're doing. I know we're going to stay in touch and keep lifting up each other's work. And thank you for bringing fun to the serious work of changing the world.
Thank you for all you do, and I appreciate you so much, Kristine. And looking to continue to build, and we have to continue the conversation of getting the podcast to the well, first quarter of 2027, and doing a live podcast episode at the well. So more to come.
We are all about it. Can't wait to talk about that again. Thanks so much for everything. God bless.
Yeah. God bless. Be well.
Hey, everybody. Thanks so much for listening to the Playful Podcast. If you enjoyed the show, please rate and review it on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. And if you know of a leader or organization that's doing good in the world and you'd love to help us help them amplify their message, I would love to have them on the show. Go to the show notes and click there, or go to impactfulinc.com/contact. And that's impactful with 2 L's, inc.com/contact. And let us know who you're thinking about. Can't wait to see you next time.